One of the simplest ways to design a quilt is to take a whole piece of fabric, large or small, and quilt a design on that fabric. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to make a baby quilt, and I'm making a square baby quilt. So I got 1.25 yards of solid color pink fabric, and I'm going to be using the solid color to make my quilt. And I'm going to be stitching patterns and designs on it. So I've decided to make a flower quilt. So I've found some patterns that are all different kinds of flowers. Now if you're searching for patterns, you can either find them online, you can find them in pattern books and quilting books, and you can find even using coloring books works really well. So when you're tracing around those designs, it's a good idea to use either copy paper, notebook paper, or tissue paper. And on my quilt I've already put my fabric on the frame, and I've already placed my flowers where I'm going to be stitching them. And I've used these 3 different kinds of paper. The tissue paper works really well because you can see through it as you're tracing your designs, but after repeated wear, the paper tends to fade and it tends to wear out really quickly, and if there's a breeze, it'll blow off your quilt. But the copy paper and the notebook paper really hold up well after repeated use. So on mine, I have put my flower pieces close together, and I can I haven't put any stems on except this flower. I haven't put any stems, but I can do stems. I can quilt those on freehand after I take my pattern pieces off. And I can, after I take these off, I can put the extra designs that are not on the outside edge. I can put these on after I take the pattern piece off. So I've already done a couple of these pieces already. So when I take this flower pattern off, and I can put it any place else on my quilt, the center of this flower is not here, but I can use a regular pencil and very, very lightly draw the center circle for this flower to complete the flower's look. And if I make a mistake, if I've drawn it really lightly, I can even erase it. Another pencil that works well is a quilting pencil because that washes out very easily. So as I take my pattern pieces off and I can add these other designs or lines in it that needed to be added, I can just add those and go back after I'm finished and quilt around those. Now I've got my pieces close together because I don't want any more than about 2 or 3 or 4 inches apart from each of the designs, because then it leaves pockets, and when I stitch these closer, have closer stitching, the quilt itself will wear better. So I'm going to finish my quilt, or finish the stitching, and put my pattern pieces around the quilt. And remember, when you're working with quilting, you want to do one area first and then move to the next area. This is the bottom of my quilt, and I'm going to be quilting to the top of my quilt. So I'm going to be moving from this area to the center and to the right side, and then I'm going to roll my quilt under and then begin on this side. I can start anywhere on either side, but I want to do one whole section before I roll it and move it on. So the only thing I have to do now is finish my stitching around my flowers and adding the center pieces where my designs are, and then the only thing left to do is to take it off the frame and put a binding around the edge and then wash it, and then it's ready to either sell or to give away. And that's how you design a simple quilt.